What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 54. We have Alexander Rakic going against Jan Blachowicz.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
We are back for another betting breakdown video this week, breaking down UFC Vegas 54. We have 11 fights to talk about. Not a ton of action this week. I know since I've been, doing these videos, I want to say this is probably the least amount of money I've had on a card. Like, I do not like this card from a betting perspective. I think it's a very sketchy card, and I'm treading very, very lightly. But yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about my favorite spots for the card. Before we get started and get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I think we're like 15 subs away from 15K, which would be a huge milestone. If we can hit that by this card, it'd be awesome. Thank you guys so much for that. Other than that, best bet 1 hour prior to the prelims. Me, Weezy, Narco Cop, Eric bets fights. I believe the fights are starting at like 7:30 for some reason. So if that's so, we'll be going live around 6:30 Eastern time. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on us going live talking our best bets there. But like I said, treading lightly. Had a very good night last week. I cashed my first max bet of the year and don't really want to give it all back on betting on Michael Johnson and stuff like that. But let's talk about this card. So we have the first fight of the night. We have Nick Maximov going against Petrovsky, and this is going to be my first bet of the night. I have half a unit on the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 112. So yeah, I think we're getting a pretty solid price here. Maximov's been into the decision in his last 3 fights, contenders, and his 2 UFC fights. But Petrovsky's never seen a decision. Win or loss, Petrovsky's never seen a decision. And I noticed in Petrovsky's fight against Zhang Hu, and even the Gilmore fight, like he's slowing down very early on. Like he was huffing and puffing in the first round against Zhang Hu, and he's able to get away with that against a guy like Zhang Hu, who is now like 3-3, and a guy like Michael Gilmore, who he's not UFC caliber. But is he going to be able to get away with slowing down this bad against a much better fighter in Nick Maximov? And I just don't think so. And on top of that, Maximov's a guy that can push a wrestling heavy pace and do it for 15 minutes, where I'm not convinced that if Petrovsky does meet some resistance here, he's going to be able to go 15 minutes here. I just don't think his gas tank's that great. So Petrovsky, if he wins, 100% finish rate, has power in his hands. He does put everything into all the shots. Maybe it's an early finish, but if Maximov wins, I think it's a late finish. Maximov round 3 plus 1,400. I kind of looked at that, but I think the fight doesn't go at plus money is the way to go here. I think there's some solid value on that. As far as picking a winner, I got to go Maximov. Do I like him at minus 350? Absolutely not, but I think the cardio is going to be the biggest factor in this fight. Give me Maximov to win late in that 3rd round. But the bet for me is half a unit on the fight doesn't go, plus 112 there. Next, we have Tatsuro Tara going against Carlos Candelario. Candelario was supposed to fight Tara 2 weeks ago. He was the last one to weigh in. He did not look great. He pulled out due to an illness. Fast forward 2 weeks later, he's one of the last guys to weigh in, and then he missed his weight by half a pound, and he just looked off. He looked sick. He did not look all that right. So I don't have an interest in betting this fight in general, but even now after seeing that, I really don't want to bet this fight even more. I think the over was interesting. The fight goes to decision, but if Candelario is not himself, if he's compromised by any from the weight cut, if he's sick, he just did not look right at the weigh-ins, and I just don't want anything to do with this fight. But yeah, the pick is Tara for me. The pick is Tara by decision, I guess, but just don't want anything to do with this fight. I think the price is kind of ridiculous. Minus 235 for Tara. I think stylistically, yeah, he should win, but just some red flags with Tara making his debut in the UFC, making his debut in the US. He's only 22 years old. It's going to be a step up in competition. Just something I don't want to lay minus 225 on, but I'll pick Tara to win, and I'll pick him to win probably by decision, but a fight I'm not too interested in. Interested in the next fight, though. We have Verna Jandiroba going against Angela Hill. I actually have 2 bets on this fight. I think there's a couple ways you can play it. First off, I'll say the money line on Verna just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Minus 185 for Verna. If you like Verna, why not just bet her submission prop around plus 350 on FanDuel? I think that's nuts that her submission prop is plus 350 and she's minus 185. I even saw minus 200 for Verna Jandiroba at this point. And you got to believe if Verna's having success in this fight, that means she's getting it down to the mat. And if she's getting it down to the mat, she's going to submit Angela Hill. I just find it hard to believe that Verna's going to go out here and she's not going to outstrike Hill, but go out there and win minutes on the mat. I think it's going to be, her winning moments and her getting that submission. So I think there's a couple different ways to play it. I think you could play the Hill money line plus 160. I see plus 170, and then hedge with that Verna submission prop at plus 275, plus 350 on some books. But the way I played it was I put a half unit on Angela Hill, decision only on DraftKings. This is the opposite of the finish only that I like to do, the opposite of the scorecards equals no action. This means that if the fight goes to decision and Hill wins, the bet cashes. If the fight goes to decision and Jandiroba wins, the bet loses. And if the fight ends inside the distance, the bet is voided. So the opposite of the finish only. So a half a unit on the decision only for Angela Hill, plus 105. The line makes no sense to me. I think if this fight goes to decision, that means that Angela Hill is stuffing the takedowns. She is keeping on the feet, and she's outpointing Verna for 15 minutes. And then I also sprinkled Verna by sub, plus 350, FanDuel Sportsbook, quarter unit. I think that's her path to victory. I think that is absolutely her path to victory is plus 350, and she's minus 200 on the money line. So, and the reason I think that is because on the feet, it's Angela Hill all day. But if this fight gets to the mat, Verna is an absolute wizard on the mat, one of the best grapplers in the division. It's not too often you see somebody pulling guard against Mackenzie Dern, but Verna did just that. And Hill has been submitted twice as well. I just think if this fight hits the mat, Verna's going to sub her. So I think it's Verna sub or Hill decision. I feel like the line's clearly off. I feel like it should be a 50-50 fight. Does Jandiroba get the fight down to the mat? If she does, okay, she wins by sub. And if she doesn't, she loses by decision. So yeah, I like Verna sub, quarter unit, and then a sprinkle on the Angela Hill decision only. Even like Angela Hill by decision plus 210 is not terrible. But yeah, I do think there's a couple different ways to play that fight, and that's how I played it there. Michael Johnson, Elon Petrovsky. This is my 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the night. I mean, this fight is just unbettable. How many times have we been confident in Michael Johnson, especially as a favorite? How many times have we said, hey, this is a very winnable matchup for Michael Johnson? And it is. This is such a winnable matchup for Michael Johnson. He should absolutely go out there and beat Elon Petrovsky, who, by the way, looked very old at weigh-ins. He's 38 at this point. He looked like 70 at the. I don't know what's going on with Petrovsky, but yeah, he just did not look that great at the weigh-ins. He's not looked great in his performances. Like, you go back and watch Petrovsky, 5-6 years ago, he looks solid, good wrestling, BJJ black belt, but just the past couple of years, he's just looked rough, and he's only getting older. Michael Johnson should win this fight, but how many times have we said that? How many stunts has Michael Johnson pulled over the years? This is a guy, Michael Johnson, who's winning the fight, looking phenomenal, up until he makes one mistake, and the one mistake costs him the fight. Yeah, Michael Johnson should win, but I just can't put any money on this fight. There's no props I'm looking at. If I was forced to bet this fight, which I'm not betting the fight, if I was forced to, it probably would be on that Michael Johnson money line, but I've been disappointed betting on Michael Johnson more often than not, and it's not getting me here. Like, if Petrovsky gets the fight down to the mat, again, Petrovsky is a black belt. Johnson has been submitted a massive 9 times. It's just a sketchy fight you don't want anything to do with. But I see a lot of people betting on Michael Johnson. I get it, but be prepared to be disappointed if he does pull, once again, another stump. But yeah, Johnson for the win here. Next, we have Andrea Lee going against Viviane Araújo. Yeah, very close fight here. Is lined to pick him throughout the week. Slight money coming in on Lee. It should be a pick 'em here. This fight would be so much easier to call if Viviane Araújo had cardio, but she doesn't, because stylistically, I like this matchup for her a lot. On the feet, I think it's very close and competitive. Both fighters have a ton of volume, but it's the power of Araújo that I think is going to be the difference. On top of that, I think Araújo can easily get Lee to the mat. Lee's been taken down in every single fight, besides one in the UFC. Araújo very strong, very solid wrestling, BJJ black belt in her own right. It's just the big problem with Araújo is the gas tank. She's going to slow down as the fight goes on. Do I want to bet on a fighter like that? I do not. Another fight that's pretty unbettable. I think the fight goes to decision as a parlay piece. Could be something to look at. I don't see a finish either way. I think the split decision prop is something to look at, honestly. Like, kind of feels like the Collier-Arlovsky fight. We know it's going to go to decision. We know it's going to be close. What are the judges going to be looking at here? Split decision is probably on the table. I think Araújo wins the first round. I think Lee wins the third round. Who wins the second? I'm not sure. This should be a pick 'em here. But I'll take Araújo as the dog, but I can't bet her because I know she's going to slow down. And it's going to be very hard to watch. So yeah, give me Araújo to win those first 2 rounds, but the second's going to be kind of up in the air there. Absolutely no bet on this fight. Jake Hadley, Elon Nascimento. Yeah, I feel like it's a spot where Hadley's going to come out here. He's going to go for takedowns. He's going to get them. Thus far, Nascimento, offensive wrestling, non-existent. Defensive wrestling, non-existent. Hadley's going to be able to dictate where this fight takes place. If he's like how it's going on the feet, keep it on the feet. If he doesn't, if it's competitive on the feet, which I kind of think it'll be, get this fight down to the mat. Nascimento's not going to have any resistance, and then Hadley's going to therefore have to stay safe on top for 15 minutes. So I think Hadley should absolutely be the favorite, but Nascimento will definitely have some opportunities. Nascimento is going to be throwing up submissions for 15 minutes. He's going to be looking for reversals and sweeps. He is very good off his back, but at this level in the UFC, it is very hard to just win fights off your back. That's why we saw Nascimento lose on the Contender Series against Paiva. We saw him lose against Tagir Ulanbekov. Hadley's going to take him down. He's going to control him. Could Nascimento find the submission? Potentially, but if not, he's going to lose a decision. So I like Hadley. Hadley by decision plus 150. I like the over 2.5. I like the fight goes to decision. If you like Nascimento, I think he's sub or bust here. Nascimento by sub is plus 525. Again, I'm not betting on this fight, but yeah, Hadley should get this done and should get it done by decision. Next, we have probably this is my favorite fight on the card. We have Manuel Torres going against Frank Camacho. Just shows you how awesome this card is when my favorite fight is this fight. But it is. I think its fight's going to be an absolute banger. This is my biggest bet on the card, on a card where I have not a ton of action at all. This is my biggest bet. I have 1.5 units on the under 2.5 rounds, minus 180. If you have 5 dimes, that line's like minus 170. Some other books that have minus 175. So it's a good spot here. And the fight doesn't go as like minus 300. So I do like the under 2.5 a little bit better there at that price. But I think violence here. Some fun facts I'll throw out at you. Manuel Torres, 14 professional fights. Only 1 has been to decision. Manuel Torres, 14 professional fights. Only 1 has went over 2.5 rounds. 14 professional fights. Only 1's been to the 3rd round. 14 professional fights. Only 1 has been to the 2nd round. And 14 professional fights for Manuel Torres. Only 2 fights have went over a half a round. So this guy's the definition of kill or be killed. Has won every single one of his fights inside the distance besides 1, and then has been finished in both of his losses. And you can kind of say the same thing about Frank Camacho. Camacho, I think like an 86% finish rate. He's been finished in 7 of 9 losses. Camacho goes after it. This guy, Camacho, is not afraid to eat 1 or eat 2 or eat 3 or 4 or 5, 6 or 7 to give 1. This guy, Camacho, eats punches with his face. He absorbs over 7 significant strikes per minute. The striking defense is horrendous. Both these guys are just going to stand and bang until one man falls. I like the under here quite a bit. I even like the under 1.5 rounds at plus money, but give me the under 2.5 rounds to get that extra round in there. Minus 180, I like it. My biggest play on the night on a card where I hate it from a betting perspective. That is probably one of my favorite spots on the card. Nothing I'm going like too crazy on. Because it is it's a fight where I don't know a ton about Torres, not a ton of tape available, but again, the guy's been over a half a round 2 times in 14 fights, so I think it's going to be a banger for as long as it lasts here. So give me the fight, doesn't go. The unders, I think this fight is a good fight for violence. All right, Caitlin Chukagian going against Amanda Ribas. First off, you saw the weigh-ins. Like I'm very annoyed because all week everybody's like, Caitlin Chukagian's going to be so much bigger. And we look at the weigh-ins, and Caitlin Chukagian's only like 2 inches taller than Amanda Ribas. And on paper, it's like 6 inches of difference. You have Chukagian, who on paper is 5'9", and then Ribas on paper is 5'3". And somebody's lying about their height because that was completely off. So, yeah, they're close in height. But regardless, like Ribas is coming up a weight class here to 125. She has fought here before against Paige Van Zandt. But yeah, Caitlin Chukagian, the more natural 125er. I do like that. And yeah, I like Caitlin Chukagian in the spot. Everybody likes Caitlin Chukagian in the spot, which is kind of concerning. But, you can see why. On the feet, it's going to be Chukagian. She's going to be the bigger fighter. Like I said, the more natural 125er. She's fought much bigger fighters than Ribas. And Ribas' path to victory is getting this fight down to the mat and controlling Chukagian, submitting Chukagian, and I just find it hard to see Ribas coming up a weight class and doing that, implementing a wrestling-heavy game for 3 rounds against a much bigger Chukagian who is a brown belt in her own right, has improved that ground game throughout the years, and then, like I said, on the feet, it's going to be Chukagian. So I think it's a great spot for Chukagian. How confident can you be in Caitlin Chukagian? I don't know, but I'm confident enough to put a bet on her. Just a unit. I'm only going a unit on Caitlin Chukagian here. 1 unit, minus 175, kind of butchered the line, but this is a spot I feel like Chukagian should win. But yeah, these spots tend to bite me more often than not, but it just feels like a good spot for her. So 1 unit, minus 175. I honestly don't want to get too invested in it. I was looking at the Caitlin Chukagian by decision prop, which on BetOnline it's minus 115. On FanDuel it's plus 120. I was tempted at that, but has been knocked out in her only 2 losses. She got knocked out by Poliana Viana. She got dropped by Verna Jandaroba. Like, the chin of Ribas is very questionable. That kind of put me off the decision. But yeah, Caitlin Chukagian should win. She should win by decision, but it's not a fight I want to be overly confident in. But I was confident enough to just place a unit on her, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, Chukagian, I like her in this spot quite a bit. All right, Davey Grant going against Luis Smolka. I guess the only thing I'd look at here would be violence. Don't love the price tag, but yeah, minus 200 on BetOnline. Fight doesn't go is kind of where I'd look. I'm not betting this fight though. Like, I don't love the props. Davey Grant minus 300 is kind of insane. Like, the guy is at the end of the day a 36-year-old bantamweight who has been submitted 4 times. If Smolka does get it down to the mat, he could be live for that sub. Smolka by sub plus 675. I know some people taking a shot on that sub, but I'll say Grant wins. I'll say Grant does win by knockout. The dude's striking looks like phenomenal. His last couple fights, he's lost his last 2 fights, but he's putting up very good accounts of himself. Very competitive with Marlon Vera early, and then I had a big bet on Yanez his last fight out, and I was sweating it because he was competitive throughout 3 rounds. So yeah, give me Davey Grant. Would I parlay him at minus 300? No. I guess the only thing would be that fight doesn't go at minus 200, but that's only on BetOnline. It looks like on like FanDuel and DraftKings and stuff, all those other books, it's getting like smashed. I think it's like minus 300 on a book as well for the fight doesn't go. I would stay away at that point, but if you can get like minus 200, I think it's solid. I'm not going to touch it though. Co-main event on Kudalaba, Ryan Spann. Yeah, I like Kudalaba here. Minus 225, not something you want to get involved with a Kudalaba fight, but yeah, he should win this fight. I think he's the more durable fighter. I think he has more paths to victory, whether it's knocking out a much less durable Spann or whether it's just implementing his game plan he has been in his last couple fights, and that's getting the fight down to the mat early and often. He's completed 17 takedowns in his last 2 fights. If he does that here, yeah, I think you can win minutes on the mat. I think he's shown a better gas tank his last 2 fights. His last fight especially against Devin Clark, his gas tank looked good throughout 3 rounds. So yeah, I just think Kudalaba has more paths to victory here. But there's no way to play this fight, really. You don't want to lay minus 225 on Kudalaba. You don't want to lay minus 420 on the fight doesn't go. I think on FanDuel I saw the fight doesn't go, like minus 600. Like, yeah, this fight should finish, but could I see it going to decision? I could. I could see Kudalaba grinding out a 3-round decision. So I'm staying away from the time props here. But yeah, Kudalaba should probably finish. But minus 160 for the inside the day, I'm just not tempted at that. So another pass for me, but I'll take Kudalaba to win. I see some people taking the shot on Spann inside the distance. I mean, that's probably how he wins there. But yeah, another fight I'm going to pass on. And now we have the main event. And yeah, Alexander Rakic, Jan Blachowicz. It's crazy, but I'm actually looking forward to the co-main more. I'm looking forward to Grant Smolka more. I'm looking forward to Torres Camacho more. I'm even looking forward to Maximov Petrovsky more than this main event. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like it's going to be uneventful. I feel like not a ton's going to go on. I feel like it's a solid spot, I guess, for Rakic. He's a much younger guy. You got to like that. But, are we counting out Jan Blachowicz? Because prior to Jan Blachowicz looking like crap against Glover, he was on a roll. Like, he was unstoppable. I lost a ton of money on that Jan Blachowicz run. And, he was on fire. And now all of a sudden we're kind of counting him out. We'll see. I mean, I think Rakic wins this fight. He's a much younger fighter. I think he has more paths to victory. I love the leg kicks, the head kick. On top of that, I think he can win with cage control. If he gets the fight down to the mat, his top control on the mat's very good. We saw Blachowicz get taken down before, and his get-up game is just non-existent, kind of content to just lay there. I just think Rakic has more paths to victory, but I don't want to completely count out Jan Blachowicz in this fight. I'm not going to lay minus 190 on Rakic. I'm going to sit back and watch. I probably, honestly, I probably won't watch this fight. I'm just not looking forward to it. But with that said, next week we have Ketlen Vieira, Holly Holm. So maybe I will sit back and just enjoy this one because my goodness, next week's card is not much better. But yeah, give me Rakic to win. Rakic by decision plus 175 is okay. Rakic 4-5 decision plus 150 is okay. But I will not have any money on this main event, sadly. But yeah, I'll take Rakic for the dub though. All right. Quickly recap my action. I'm sorry, like there's not a ton of spot. Like this was a card where I was debating having 0 bets on this card. I really was. Like I do not like this card from a betting perspective. So many sketchy fights on this card. But you have 1 unit on Caitlin Chukagian minus 175. Was not happy about her being only 2 inches taller at weigh-ins. She's not 6 inches taller, so I did not like that. But I think it's a good matchup for her. I have my biggest play of the night, 1.5 units on the under 2.5 rounds, minus 180 in the Camacho Torres fight. I think the under 1.5 is fine as well. The fight won't start round 3 is fine. I have a half unit on Angela Hill, decision only, plus 105. That is the opposite of the finish only that I like to do. And I have a quarter unit on Jandiroba by sub, plus 350. And then I have Maximov Petrovsky, fight doesn't go to decision, plus 112. Half a unit. I think I have like 3.75 units invested in total, which again is one of my least exposed cards ever, really. So I'm already looking into next week's card. We have a 10-fight card next week, but this summer we have a ton of great fights coming up. June, July, August, all are stacked with some great fights. I actually have a bet already for UFC 275, which is a month later. So I'm starting to look ahead. We have a week off in a couple weeks, and I start looking ahead, getting on some of these lines early, and I guess that's what we'll do. So yeah, guys, leave a like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and best of luck. I would honestly, I would tread lightly. Don't bet on Michael Johnson, Elon Patrick. Don't do it. But yeah, you don't want to go all out on cards like this. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Enjoy the fights. I think it's gonna be a fun card from a fan perspective. But yeah, that's about it, guys, and good luck, and we'll talk to you very soon. See you at Best Bet Livestream.